Yes, yes. Yeah, I think it's true. Yeah, there is a real because of the way America is, and such a deeply um, capitalistic country that's committed to capitalism. It requires all of you, all the time, 24/7. It seems to be, well, 24/7 if you let it, right? If you let the machine run you, you can keep going in this rat race. And I think so. There's a sense in which, during the pandemic, well, a lot of people, millions lost their jobs, right? They had to work from home, and still are working from home, still unemployed, all types of, different types of suffering and that are occurring. But and even now, as some people have maybe regained their jobs, or some are starting to transition to the office, or maybe some are still staying at home. I think there's a temptation to still, to think of yourself as less, because you're not, well, there's still a temptation to tie or bind our identity to productivity. But that's something that we have got to continually cast before the Lord, right? Yes. Continually cast it before the Lord, because we are valuable, because we belong to God, because we're created by God, and that because God has made us in His image, we are valuable, because He's put that sense of divinity within us. We are valuable because we're human beings, who are able to reflect God's image. We are valuable. We are worth something. We belong. I said this the other day, but we belong to each other. We are in a social contract together. So it matters. What happens to you actually matters. It impacts me. The ways that, we discard people just so easily without giving a second thought. It's just like, oh my goodness, it just speaks to the dehumanization, and the ways that our systems and our productivity actually, if we're not careful, seeks to dehumanize us. And it's something that I think we always have to keep our humanity before us, and reminding ourselves of our intrinsic dignity and worth. And I think it's worth reminding ourselves of that on a daily basis, to be honest, so that we don't get too caught up in this rat race, and and that our worth is it's just not as connected to that when we have a real strong sense of who we are apart from what we do.
And that is
even in ministry. Yes.
Well, hello and welcome everyone to the Well After Hours. I'm your host, Beverly Allen, and I'm so happy to be with you again, but I'm really excited today because not only is this the day the Lord has made, but this is the day for my special returning guest today, in the person of Ekemini Ewan, who is a public theologian and author and so many other great things, and an exciting time. But she is also the host of Truth's Table podcast, along with two other phenomenal young women, Dr. Christina Edmondson and Michelle Higgins. And this is such an exciting time. And I have to welcome Ekemini Ewan. Ekemini, thank you for coming back to the Well.
Thank you for having me back. Thank you so much.
I am so excited for you all. I mean, you all have been doing such phenomenal things at Truth's Table. And I'm going to tell you, there's a table you want to sit at, it is at Truth's Table, because these women are just, as the young people say, off the chain. For a Christian lens. I just love what you all are doing. But you know what? I have to get this geared up. I have to congratulate you along with my viewing audience, Truth's Table. I have to tell you, viewers and audiences, that Truth's Table has been selected as the Black Podcasting Awards choice for 2021 for religion and spirituality podcasts. Oh my goodness, what an honor. You all deserve it. That is so wonderful.
Thank you.
I mean, I know that there were probably other, and I said I had to pull this together because I wanted to everything was kind of going down under the sun with a little back.
What is that?
I had to give you my audiences.
That's so funny. Thank you so much. Thank you.
For Truth's Table, you all deserve that honor, and I'm just excited. And as if that wasn't even exciting enough, then on top of it, they are coming out with their new book, Truth Table, Black Women's Musings on
Our first, yeah.
Life, Love, and Liberation. And this is, you can see the beautiful cover in the back. I had this.
Yours is flipped around. Yours is flipped upside down, but yeah, there you go. Yeah. You printed it out. Beautiful.
Isn't gorgeous? I just love it. I love it in the background there. And I'm telling you, I can't wait. It's going to be released April the 12th, right? It's supposed to be.
Well, it got pushed back due to supply chain issues. So it's pushed back to April 26th. So let's hope that it'll come out then and that there won't be any more delays. But yes, it is coming out.
That is exciting. And we're going to put all the information, because what you can do is while you're waiting for it to come out, you can pre-order it.
Important.
Yes. And we're going to provide all the information so that you can do that and have your copy. So when the conversation begins, it's going to be so awesome. But you know what? We're going to get into the conversation and questions, but I just want to tell everyone a little bit about Ekemini. If you haven't been privileged or to see Truth Table podcast, you have to go see it. It's on Instagram, it's on Spotify, it's everywhere. Just Google it, but I'm going to give you all the other links at the end of the show. But Ekemini is a public theologian. She's also a contributing writer for Hallmark Mahogany and the inaugural theologian in residence for the Black Christian Experience Resource Center. She has appeared on MSNBC and NPR. Her writings have been published in The Atlantic and The Washington Post, and her insights have been quoted by CNN and The New York Times and The New Yorker. I tell you, you all are some bad sisters, as they say.
Thank you.
And it's just good to see God using, your gifts and talents and all those things he has predestined for you to do for such a time as this. I mean, that's another reason why I'm so excited for you all too, is because even in the midst of what's going on, throughout the world, it's good to have some good news and something exciting, that the Lord is doing that we can point people to look to. Absolutely.
Especially in such a time like this. It's been a hard time, and so I think we need all the resources we can get, and all the hope that we can get. And so we're trying to put something out there that we believe will be useful, to our sisters at the table and edifying to the church is our hope.
You were with us in 2021 in June.
Yeah,
that's when we had you on the show, and it was in the midst of so many things that was going on, all the racial tension.
Yeah.
The talk of how we had to begin to kind of decolonize our theologies because of so many things that had been left out that we weren't necessarily aware of, or on top of that is now being made so well known. Which is really uplifting for our community, for the Black and Brown communities, which is wonderful. And I opened the show with a little clip of when you were, here the last time. You said something so encouraging, and it was a quote I had asked you about, and I said, you had said, truth, I shared it. Yeah, it is critical to keep in mind that our identity is not in our productivity, but is tied to our intrinsic worth and inherent dignity as human beings. And what made that so powerful too is because everybody was going through so much. There was losses of jobs, and people were feeling very low status changes for many people. And it was so true that sometimes we don't see ourselves as who we are, as just human beings, absolutely, as you say, with the image of God within us. And it was a great time for you to, point that out. And I wanted the viewers to see that, because that's just a little sample of what they talk about, all the things on Truth Table.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, but you know what? I wanted to ask you, this is you're going into your sixth season. Season
6 has started. It started on March 5th.
Mm-hmm.
We're rocking and rolling.
That is amazing. And what are the number of episodes that we're up to so far? I think, God, it's been so many. I lost count.
Oh, goodness. I don't even, off the top of my head, let's see, for about 5 seasons. We're definitely well over 100. We might be over let me just say 120.
Yeah. I know it's been a lot. It's hard to count.
Over 120 probably. Yeah. So every season is about 30 to 35 episodes, somewhere around there. So yeah.
That is amazing. And how did you all come together? You all are friends, both you, Christina, and Michelle are friends. How did you all determine, or how were you led, or what was that inner unction that got you to, say, you know what, we need to do something for this?
I mean, Truth Table came about because initially it was in the fall of 2016, I believe, that we were at a conference and our now producer sat down we're at lunch and he sat down next to me and said, hey, have you thought about doing a podcast like you by yourself? And I said, I don't think I would want to have a show, just me pontificating. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I don't know that I would want to carry a show in that way, or even if I could, and the desire and the labor. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that. And he's like, well, what about you and Michelle and Christina? And I was like, I was like, okay, that's a very real possibility. And so I just took that to the two of them and asked them, hey, what do y'all think about us starting a podcast with the three of us talking about culture, race, whatever we want to talk about, And and so they came back. I said, think about it, pray about it, get back to me. And they did, and they came back with a yes. And that honestly is how Truth Table was born.
That's awesome. And the description that you give, midwives of culture for grace and truth, I thought that was just,
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, we try to live up to it. I think we do, but yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So we came up with the tagline, the name for the show, and all of that is us. Creative production, direction of the show, that's us. Yeah.
That is amazing. Sometimes people see podcasts and they think it looks easy because, you smooth out, after a while, you smooth out all the little wrinkles and things. They have no idea how much it takes behind the scenes to put together.
Oh my goodness.
A moment like that,
Mode and it's serious. Yeah. It takes a lot of work. It's a lot. We did not know. We did not know either. Okay. So, because none of us were really podcast listeners. We weren't when we started. And truthfully, we still kind of aren't. And so we're just honestly walking by faith and just doing it.
And that's so true because, as the Lord leads you to do something, it's like he doesn't give you the whole big picture because probably it would scare you, but he just gets you to take one walk at a time, one step at a time.
Absolutely.
And you learn as you go, but once you take that faith first step.
That's right.
Look how many 100 and some odd episodes ago, who would have thought like now that you would have been, winning this wonderful award, and now writing a book. And that was kind of like to my point of asking how you all came together, because now that you have had so many conversations and you all don't shy away from, talking about things that are really meaningful and relevant, and you're so transparent, about all of the conversations and bringing in your guests, how, and it's been such a blessing to so many people. How did that get shaped? Did the episodes help shape your book that's coming out now?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, a lot for years, people have been asking us for resources. What are y'all reading? Or for us to dive deeper into the topics that we talk about on the show. And so we were approached to do a book by several publishing houses, actually. And so, and so we were like, okay, well, if we do a book, I guess we would do it based off of, the things that we're passionate about, maybe some things that we talked about on the show, and maybe things that we haven't yet, addressed on the show. And so that's what we do. That's what we did in this book. So some of these topics, we haven't talked about at all. Like, for instance, divorce, or even forgiveness. I don't know that we've actually, we talk about it, repentance and things like that, but we haven't had like a whole episode about that. We have done a 2-parter on colorism, but this is, writing is much different than the podcast. And there's a lot of depth in the podcast, but it's much more weighty in the book, because I write about my experiences there. And so, yeah, we went based off of the topics on the show, but also based off of the things that we are wrestling with, things that we're that are near and dear to our hearts. And that's how we determine what topics we would talk about or write about, I should say. Sorry.
Wow. And, having said that, like you said, this is a podcast that is built by Black women for Black women. So many times when we embrace something that seems to be geared just towards, us or women of color, people get offended. And it's not that we're excluding anyone, from the experience. I mean, as women, yes, we do experience many things, but there's just things
Absolutely.
that Black women experience that no one else does in the way that we do it,
Yes.
And have you had any other, comments or questions about like that, like people pointing towards, well, why is it just for,
no, you mean
from any other cultures? I mean,
for the book or for the show, or
from the show, because I know that what the show states kind of, culminates in the book as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. For the show, here and there, probably initially when we started, not so much anymore. I think people know what time it is. I mean, we do lead out saying this table is built by Black women and for Black women. So welcome to the table, sisters. So we're very clear about our audience. And so initially, I'd say when we launched, we've been out for 5 years now. So initially, for first 1 to 2 years, a little bit, but after that, we haven't heard much of that anymore.
Wow. And I really kind of brought that up because I want to talk about, there's a couple of things like from like Christianity Today, they listed, you've been listed as 10 new or lesser known female theologians worth knowing. And Truth's Table is also listed in Christianity Today as 12 podcasts for your summer listening list. And they're telling people to go to Truth's Table, listen at them. If you want to learn something on race relations or, maybe some of the racial discussions that are in the, community of color, to listen to that. And I'm just saying, when you get the eye or the ear of such large media, companies as like the New York Times and them, that's really something. That's not a small thing, because there's so many podcasts, and it's not like it's the only, podcast with, African American women or Black women, even globally. So when you capture their attention, it kind of speaks volumes that you're saying many things of interest. So it would only transfer that in this book coming out, the 3 L's, life, love, and liberation, every conversation a woman could have would fit under those 3 topics. Anything you could talk about would fit under one of those 3 topics.
Yes, absolutely. And so, the reality is that, initially when Truth's Table started, we really did carve out a niche and a lane for ourselves. They're just the reason, part of why it started was that in the religion and spirituality space, it was very, very white. And it was like, where's the representation for Black Christian women? Like, we are actually the most devout, faithful churchgoers, and congruent in our faith. And I was like, this is not reflected in these charts. And why is that? And so we thought it was really important to be able to foreground Black Christian women's faith perspective. And so that's what we've done on Truth's Table. And so yeah, there are many podcasts. There's so many now, right? But we started in 2017, right? Oh, and there were still a lot then, but we started, before I would say a big flood, of podcasts came into the market. And so we really did carve out our own niche. And I think even to this day, I don't know that there are other podcasts that do exactly the same thing that Truth's Table does, So, and that's just all, honestly, that's not to toot our own horn. That's just by God's grace, and the skills and the expertise and the things that he's given us and the unique callings that he's given us that have made Truth's Table what it is. And so even though it's taking a different shape, because it is taking a different shape in season 6, which is our current season, in that it's myself and Christina that are going forward. Michelle is has departed from Truth's Table formally in that way, because she'll be doing a lot of her ministry and other projects that she is committed to. So the book is the culmination of our work as a trio, but myself and Christina are going to be moving forward as a duo in season 6. And so, I do think that there's something, special or unique, synergistic that I think the Lord has, brought together. And I think we'll maintain as the two of us go forward. Mm-hmm. And it has been maintaining, should I say, because we are in season 6,
Yes. And you also have discipleship classes that are associated with you. It's just doing wonderful things. Yeah. That is awesome. Yeah. And, and I'm saying that I want to just take a minute to share with the viewers a little bit of what Truth's Table has done, is doing, and forward to doing. And so don't go away. We're going to show you just a little clip to give you some insight into Truth's Table. If you haven't seen it, you have to go and view it. And we'll be right back. Well, I'm sure you enjoyed that clip that gave you more insight into all that they're doing and the release of the book coming out soon. And so don't forget to please go and pre-order your book, because all the information is there, and that's very helpful. It's really a good thing in a sense to pre-order the books. Doesn't that work for the book that well? You could explain that to the viewers, why it's
absolutely so important to do that. Yeah, thank you so much, Beverly, for that. It is actually really important to pre-order the book. It actually has very, very serious impact on how well the book will do. It does a couple of things. It does signal to the power brokers and the institutions within the publishing world that the thoughts, the viewpoints, and the writing of Black women is important. And it lets them know we want more of this. And so when they see those pre-orders flood in and flood in and flood in, then they know, like, whoa, this is a hot ticket item. we got to get our hands on, we need to make sure that we're publishing more of these types of books and acquiring more of these books from Black women. So that's really important. And then it just also helps with our sales in that first week. So that helps to shoot us up on those bestseller lists on New York Times and US Today and all USA Today, all these other bestseller lists. It's very, very helpful. And so in addition to pre-ordering, if you've read it or you see it, after you read it, making sure to put a good review. It doesn't even have to be very long. It could just be like, this book really changed my life, or this book really blessed me. That could be the review, so it's a big deal. It really does help. And if you can pre-order it from truthstable.com/book, or you can order it from bookshop.org, which helps to support Black independent owned bookstores, or you can order it big box retailers, Walmart, Target, and Amazon, anywhere books are sold pretty much. So yeah, but pre-ordering is huge. So please pre-order the book.
Yes. And there's so much to be said about us all coming together and supporting our sisters in that area, because when you're blessed, we're all blessed. When you open the door for you open the door for others as well.
That's true. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so by, Truth Table, having phenomenal success, it will help someone else, because like you said, it directs people to look and to say, wow, there is really a market for that.
Yes. Get their foot in the door.
Yeah.
That's right. You're right.
So that is so helpful. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is, now I think if I understood right, the chapters in the book were laid out. Each of you took certain chapters to write about. How was that process?
Yeah, so we have 12 chapters in the book. There's 3 of us, and we did 4 chapters each. And so we did not assign chapters. It was just like, okay, what are the 4, in our book proposal, it was like, okay, what are the 4 topics that y'all want to write about? So there was no set, okay, these are the topics and y'all got to choose. It wasn't like that. It was just, you have 4 chapters you need to write. What do you want to write about? Wow. And so that's different. And that's what we ended up doing. So we selected our topics based off of the things that we're wrestling with, that we figured would resonate with Black women. And that's how we decided to do it. And so now the process of writing is that, we wrote on our own, of course, but the editing process is interesting. We were on a Zoom call. And so with our editor, and we were literally reading our chapters aloud, and we would be like, stop. Can you say that again? That reads a little awkwardly. Maybe if we move this or put a comma here, or, in real time, or, I wouldn't say that, do you mind deleting that? Or what about if you rephrase it, or, so that's, yeah.
Wow. And boy, just knowing a couple of the chapters on colorism, that's a huge chord you struck, putting that in there. I think most of us can relate to that on different levels, no matter what side of the shade that you're on. So yeah. And then with a singleness, and then marriage and divorce. I mean, you all have left no stone unturned.
Oh my goodness, there's so many stones that there's so many things we could have talked about. But yeah, we tried to cover the gamut there. We tried to cover the gamut.
I'm looking, I can't wait to get my copy. I'm just so, I can't wait to get my copy. And as even the viewers had a chance to see in the clip that they saw, the wonderful reviews, by really notable,
thank you,
scholarly, religious leaders, the religious community backing it up. It just says so much. And I'm so happy to see everybody come together. And I'm looking for a lot of different groups to be started. There's going to be discussion groups.
Yeah.
My prayer for you is that will happen, because I think that it's going to do so many things on so many levels emotionally, to be able to get people to feel comfortable to actually talk about it with each other, to have chat, because so many things, because of maybe in past how things were presented in the church body, it was very silent. And so now, you can open the book and you have freedom there to actually address
that's
it.
true. Yeah, you're right.
And to speak about it. So I think that's going to help many people. It's going to be a blessing to many women.
So.
And, and another chapter that I wanted to ask you about that you dealt with was on diaspora dreams.
Yeah.
Can you just give us a little bit of that? What are your diaspora dreams?
Ooh, that one. Oh boy. Yeah, diaspora dreams are my goodness, that's probably my favorite chapter that I wrote. Wow. It's the one that makes me most emotional. But yeah, in that one, I'm writing about the reunification of our people, of Black folks who have been impacted by this transatlantic slave trade, who've been impacted by the colonialism, who have been, separated by those evil forces and evil systems, who have had emotional, I'd say, and psychological distances from one another. So Africans between African Americans between Caribbeans, Africans, all these ideologies that were meant to keep us apart, and meant to make us suspicious, of one another. So I'm writing really in a way that foretells what awaits us and our reunification together. So a big Pan-African reunion that awaits us in glory, and so how we're always in search of a Black utopia, and I just wish, like we didn't have to deal with all of the racism and all the white supremacy and all of the killings and all, the police shootings and things like that. And we're like, where can we go to? I think that's a question that we're always asking. Where can we go to? Where can we run to? You know what I mean? Because even in Africa, you have to still deal with the wages of colonialism and slavery, right? So even there, you can't really find, the utopia does not quite exist, And so, that's kind of the backdrop in the landscape of that book. Of that chapter. Is that yearning for that Black utopia, and what that will look like, and that for us as believers is glory, together with God and with each other. And so, I think,
that is so powerful, and I think it's not only going to be informative, it's going to be kind of educational, it's going to just make us think even more about that, because nobody even thinks about hardly dreaming anymore, because you're so in the now, trying to make it, trying to survive,
Absolutely.
That even having conversations to steer your mind in that direction gives you hope, It brings you a deeper hope, that you can have right here in this present world, what I mean, to look forward to. And so, and especially like for believers, it's all done through, the Christian lens, whether it's Truth Table or, the book. And it's to me, it's just outstanding. So merit worthy that you all have done that. And so as you moving forward, now that this is done, people are going to be like, once you open the door, it's like more. I think now that you have finished this, I think you will have to think of another volume.
Oh boy, we actually do have some ideas on what we might want to do next, but let's get through this one. My goodness, it's a lot of work to launch a book into the world. Our friends have told us, but they didn't really tell us all the nitty gritty. I was like, my goodness, y'all didn't tell me, but yeah, we do have, me, myself and Christina have been kicking around some ideas, but like, oh, okay. I think we have an idea on how we want that to, what we want that to look like. But yeah, one day at a time,
Yes, I know. And you, whether it's individually or collectively, we see you on this platform, but you're doing so many other things as well. Going out, you are, besides being an author and a co-host, you're a preacher, you speak, you preach, there's so many things you get involved in, that people are requesting for you besides writing articles for, other media places. So that in itself too is like, there's just so much. You wonder, how do you do it all? How do you juggle? What does organization look like in your life to be able to accomplish all these things,
Oh boy. Well, I get up very early in the morning, that's for sure. And I do my workout and then I pray. I don't, it's just every day I just try to make sure I'm taking care of the priorities, making sure that I'm checking with the production team, making sure contracts and things are signed for ads, like what are the priorities, making sure I've got an episode recorded for the audio Bible, Get in the Word with Truth Table, where we read the word every day in a year. And so like when I'm done with this, I actually have to record one day's reading, so I was like, oh, I got to do that. And so it's like trying to prioritize, like, okay, what are the deadlines? What are the hard deadlines? What are the things that can wait a little bit? And so every day, honestly, it's just like, every day is so different, and when you work for yourself, you have to really be, I would say you have to have an entrepreneurial spirit, meaning you have to be able to be a self-starter, but you also have to be pretty disciplined with your time. And you have to, be pretty, pretty cognizant of like, okay, what's a waste of my time? What can I delegate? What do I need to keep on my plate? And so every day it's a prayer for wisdom and discernment, Lord, to help me to prioritize the right things. Because sometimes you miss it.
Yeah, that's so true.
You're bogged down with email all day. Email is important. But sometimes it's just like, oh boy, let me take a break from that. Let me go do some recording. Let me take a break from that. Let me go do some writing. It's a
never-ending battle sometimes.
Juggling act.
But you know what? That's why, you're winning awards, and that's why, because it does take work. It's not an easy job. And I'm glad you expressed that, because, many people are trying to get into things. And as you even said, oh, they didn't tell me it was going to be like this.
I know.
Nobody
write a book. But I'm like, they didn't, I promise they didn't really tell us about this part. I was like, my goodness, this is a lot of work.
But it's like the Lord puts things in your heart, and he doesn't show you the whole big picture. He just like, come walk with me through this. I'm gonna walk with you through it. And you just have to go. And you never know, you don't see what's going to happen. You're just in obedience. And from obedience, look what the Lord brings forward.
Oh yeah. Obedience. So important. I know people don't like to preach on that no more, but it's important. It really does matter. And so, and we want to glorify God. If we love God, then we should want to glorify God.
And you don't know how he's going to use it. You know what I mean? There's a reason why he has you do these things, while it's nice and you get accolades, but there's somebody's hand that this book has to get in the hands of.
Yes.
There's somebody that has to be reached. And sometimes it's not always on the podcast, it's through a book. And I even said that I ordered an extra book because I want to give one to someone. So, to be able to gift somebody, a book like this.
Oh, thank you.
Is awesome as well too. So, because I truly believe that it's going to be a blessing. And so, for anybody else who's just getting into this, starting up, is there anything you would like to tell them?
You mean with writing or
listen, you're doing it all. Anything you want to hit on is fine. I mean, with writing the book, with doing the podcast, because as you said, now there's so many podcasts, and the wonderful thing about it, I guess, you can go throughout the world, and there's so many people who can see it. But if for anybody who's feeling like maybe the Lord is directing them to do something, even though it may not be in the way that you're doing it, but they feel like there's a call to do something.
My advice, honestly, is to pray and seek the Lord and ask God what it is that God has called you to do. What are the things that you're passionate about? What are the causes and things that you, that are near and dear to your heart? What are the things that keep you up at night? And then ask people to confirm your gifts and your callings, and then I think that's a step in the right direction, because that gets you closer to what God has called you to, what you have a burden for, what God placed it there for a reason. And then when you know what that is, then you know how, then I believe the Lord begins to reveal how that purpose is supposed to be made manifest. You see, so for me, my passions were around justice, Black women, Black people, period. So, right. So anti-Black racism, things like that. But and then God had called me into a public calling. That is not what I planned. That was not what I desired. Now that's just not me, meaning that's not something I would go and self-select. I just wouldn't have chosen that at all. I would have gotten a regular 9-to-5 and taught women the Bible at my church and keep it moving. That's what I did before seminary. That's what I wanted to do after. And that's not what the Lord had for me, you know? So you got to keep an open hand with the Lord and walk in obedience. I know it can be very hard sometimes, and it can be very scary. It's very, very scary sometimes. But yeah, my admonition or encouragement would be, you know, to seek out your purpose. And then I think then the Lord will begin to reveal how your purpose is supposed to be made manifest. For me, it was because I'm public. It worked out through writing. It worked out through speaking, podcasting, writing a book, and things like that. I did not know that's what God had in store. I didn't even know that I had the ability to really write well until seminary. So when I was in my early 30s, so I just didn't know. So hey, you know, there's some late blooming gifts, you know, so it's never too late. As long as you have breath in your body, God can use you. So just yield to the Spirit.
Amen, amen, amen to that. I tell you, well, that is most encouraging. I say that at the often is that it doesn't matter the age or the stage. If God is calling you to do it, just follow Him, because He knows. Right. He knows.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, He does.
And as I say, as the older generation, my generation used to say, I'm going to run on and see what the end is going to be. And, you know, it's like what I feel like. I got to know what's going to happen. I got to know what God wants to do.
Yes, you got to know. I know. That's how we feel. It's like, but we on a need to know basis with God. He tells us when we need to know. I know we don't like that all the time, but hey, that's for our good sometimes. Because if He shows us too much, we get scared and we'll clam up. We won't want to do it. We'll run the other way, you know? So yeah.
That's true. On this journey, let me ask you this very quickly before we, you know, begin to close out. Has there been anything that has scared you the most?
About the book or being on?
Just whatever the Lord has, whatever in any area that the Lord has called you to go into, then when He's used you at any particular time that was scary. I mean, I know we get nervous about things. Something that was scary.
Well, I was very, very, I was terrified when I was, I've been terrified several times, actually. I was terrified going into seminary, because I didn't know why God was calling me into seminary. I was terrified coming out of seminary because I was like, God, what do you want me to do with this degree? What am I supposed to do? And when there wasn't a clear path, that was terrifying. I really had to walk by faith and really, really take to heart that man does not live on bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of the Lord. It's been really lean years, to be quite honest. And so yeah, it was scary. It was scary just walking out there and just be like, okay, God, is this what I'm going to do? Just speak and write and do these things that don't pay a lot of money. Am I going to do that for all of these years? What, do you have some other plan? Do you got a healthcare plan? What we doing? You know, and so that was very scary, very, very scary. You know, now I think I've just acclimated, you know, to it and still trusting the Lord and looking to God and still praying and open to opportunities, you know, that the Lord is bringing. But yeah, that was very scary. That was very scary. Just stepping out on faith, not knowing wait, what's going to happen? Because I had applied to jobs, back in the career that I had prior to this. I had applied for to go back into corporate type of sales, and I was getting no bites. I had strong numbers. I had strong resume. I had everything, but there were no bites. I could not get a job. And I'm like, what is going on? Back in 2016. Because I remember being in preparation to graduate, because I started seminary in 2012 and no bites. And I was like, what's going on, Lord? What are we going to do? So yeah, that was definitely scary. That was scary. But the Lord has been faithful and has provided. And yeah, he's been faithful to me for sure.
Wow. And you know what? That takes faith. And especially this period that we went through, COVID and all,
and pivoting, right? And changing, and my ministry has pivoted significantly. I don't talk about the things I used to talk about anymore. I'm like, okay, well, I've already said what I need to say. So I don't really do anti-racism like that anymore. I mean, obviously it's a lifestyle, it's a philosophy and a belief. That's definitely, but, and because of the gospel, definitely, but yeah, that's not necessarily what I do anymore now, so it's walking by faith and not by sight. It is not for the faint of heart. I'm telling you, following God is not for the faint of heart.
But the reward is so much bigger. Oh my goodness, and you know what? That's why I say people look at sometimes and they say, oh, they see you on this platform, and when you're before, maybe larger numbers of people, and they don't understand that it didn't start out that way.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. Not even a little bit. Not even close. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's just so much to that talk about walking by faith. When the Lord says, count up the cost before count up the cost first, Yeah. But he'll pay you back real good.
Absolutely.
He will definitely pay you back real good. And so thank you so much for just sharing that, for sharing today. It's just been, as always, bringing you here has always been refreshing. Coming to the well, we get refreshed, we get uplifted just hearing you. So I thank you for your time, for being here. I don't know if there's any other closing remarks that you'd like to give.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Sis Beverly, for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here, to be back, and to talk about our book, Truth Table, Black Women's Musings on Life, Love, and Liberation. You can buy it wherever books are sold. Please do pre-order it. Spread the word to your friends, to your sisters, to your brothers. Brothers need to hear the words of Black women. They need to read the words of Black women too, right? So, and then I'd also encourage you all to get in the word with Truth Table. I invite you to listen. Where else can you go on the internet anyway, to listen to the Bible read by Black women? I'll wait, because I don't think you're gonna have a response for that. So you, even in some churches, you won't hear Black women reading the word. So get in the word with Truth Table, daily audio Bible podcast read by myself and my ministry partner, Dr. Christina Edmondson. We are reading through the Bible in a year. And so we are on maybe day 100 or close to that, but your day one starts when you hit play. So you can binge listen. Each episode is no longer than 20 minutes. So we read and we pray at the end of each episode. So it's a great way to start your day or end your day, listening to the word before you go to sleep. A lot of people like to listen with their children and family. And so you can listen wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. And then, I just want to say thank you. You can also follow me on Instagram at Sista Theology, on Twitter at Sista_Theology, and Facebook at Sista Theology as well. So thank you so much. And of course, my website is systematictheology.com, SISTAMATICTHEOLOGY.com. If you wanted to book me or read my writings or watch some of my interviews or just browse around. And you could also pre-order the book on my website too. So yeah, thank you.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, thank the Lord. I appreciate this, appreciate your time being here. And I hope to see you again at the next project, whatever is going on. I hope to catch you. Maybe you'll be at Courageous Conversations this year. Are you going to be there?
Yeah, I think I haven't gotten any info on it yet, but I would imagine that I would be there, God willing. So let's see what the Lord will do.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, thank you so much, Ekemini, and I wish you Godspeed and all the blessings and added strength, bodily and spiritually, as you continue to follow the Lord's glory cloud in your life. And viewers, thank you so much for being with us on the Well After Hours. As I told you, listen, every week we have a wonderful conversation with an amazing guest. And today has just been amazing. And thank you. And don't forget, I'm going to keep reminding you and sharing Truth Table's book on Black women's musings of life. Come on now, love and liberation. So listen, we'll look for you until then next week at the Well. God bless you and stay well. Bye.